It's all very epic sounding, this music. Let's wind that down a bit. As right as I'm about to do the show, just outside my window, my neighbour has decided that now is the time to power wash the fence, because, okay. We'll roll with that one. Let's hit some buttons. Do that so I can get rid of that. And we'll do that so we can get rid of that. Let's just do the last checks before we get too far into bits and pieces. Oh, that's not helpful. Let's have myself on an echo. What a great idea. Always helpful on that front. It's also just occurred to me as well to click the buttons on my phone so that I can see the bits of news that I want to be able to do. That's what I want. There we go. Right. Button. Hey, there we go. I still look like a giant scruffy mess, but it's fine. We don't mind. Happy Frankie Backling Day. It's a very good goal. It's very, very true, Jamie. I can't argue that. I have managed to get that at a real angle, haven't I? Let's give that a nudge. There we go. So I'll actually look like I'm straight in the scene. That will help, won't it? Yes, keeping an eye on that too, Andrew. Don't worry, we'll be endeavouring to do the same. We'll catch up later if I miss anything. You know how this works, Andrew. You know when you'll appear with all the with all those bits and pieces, so you're fine. For those of you watching on catch up, your magic word, I think it has to be Showdown ahead of this weekend, doesn't it? It really does have to be Showdown, just ahead of everything happening in Sheffield this weekend. So there should be lots of fun. So Showdown, stick that in the comments, and then comment on, give us your thoughts on bits and pieces. If you keep that thoughts on the warm-up question coming in, because coming the end of this coming Sunday, which team will have the biggest smile? Could be the National, could be the Elite League, could be Division 1, Division 2. There's going to be a lot of very happy people and a lot of very sad people come the end of Sunday, as we have plenty going on. And like I say, another big show with another big exclusive here right now on the What's Current stream. So we will just give it a moment. He says just because there it is. Misplaced the old water bottle. Definitely need that within grasping reach as always. I don't think there's any other bits and pieces immediately coming out. So, we've got some news we need to share with everybody, don't we? So we better get rocking and rolling. Guys, gals, and the gender fluid and all beyond the binary. It is Wednesday night. It is 8 PM and this is the BOTW What's Current stream. My name is Anthony Russell, here to take you through the weird and wonderful world that is the National Ice Hockey League structure here in Great Britain. We focus on the National Division. That is our bread and butter. That is our home port. But of course, we are here to take you through absolutely anything and everything that's happened across the entire of the NIHL. That means from Leeds to Lee Valley, nobody gets left out. It means we look at the National Division as well as Division 1 and Division 2 in the north and in the south. And it is starting to all get down to business. We are approaching the end of the season. We are finishing off Division 2 this weekend will close its doors for 24-25. Division 1, well, there's only 4 games left of the Division 1 season, because of course there's one game on Easter Sunday left for Billingham and for Slough, and it's the final weekend incoming of the round robin playoff action. One team is officially eliminated from contention. One side is nailed on. They will not be going to Coventry. But the other 7 are still in, and that one team that's out could have a massive impact on bits and pieces. But yes, Wednesday night, back once again. Hope everybody's doing well. Busy weekend for me last weekend, as you can appreciate, back on one of my little commentary stints, commentating on a game, the only game in the Elite League last weekend that had no effect on either the league title race or the playoff race. So it was very different. Always good fun. Great to be getting, great to get more games of commentary under my belt, and of course, I'll be back in Guildford this weekend, so my first taste of Elite League playoff hockey commentary will be pretty awesome. I commentated on the first competitive game this season for Guildford, so I also get to do the last, which is pretty awesome. Kaidi, hello. Of course, you. Hopefully everything's all right there in Newark Airport. You are in the past. Greetings from the past, O time traveller. Really sincerely hope you had a great time at those Bruins games, even if it's the Bruins. A few answers there. Of course, we can see who will have the biggest smile. The Slapshot Syndicate boys are in the house. Thank you very much. Of course, hoping that of course, it is Hull. Oh no, Telford are eliminated. You're right. Yeah, apologies. There is, I thought there was a scenario where they could still get in, but maybe that's just my bad maths on that front. Either way, it was going to be pretty hard for them either way, wasn't it? let's be honest, getting into the last weekend. All things considered, there. Yeah, just having a look what else to say. John Akers saying that Billingham will have the biggest smile if they complete the clean sweep. Probably. But then they'll have to go back the next weekend and finish off things as well. So they really probably won't be smiling. Yeah, although I understand that the following Sunday they take it all too. Yeah, that's very true. They can still have a big smile this coming Sunday, can't they? If they will have hit the point that they've got 3 out of 3. And of course, Billingham not getting the playoffs last weekend. Before we kick off too much with the news, we better do the housekeeping very quickly. So if you've been here a while, hum along, you know the words. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for all things related to the NIHL and British hockey and the variety of weird things that I seem to be on this bizarre journey on right now. Banners on the Road is a series that we have on the website, which follows my weird and wonderful winding world through the world of British hockey. Every game I go to gets an in-depth look. Of course, the latest one that I was at last weekend, the Guildford Flames and the Glasgow Clan, the game where everybody was looking to next week and no one was sure what was going on. So let me take you inside what it's like to commentate on a game where ultimately it was a bit of a dead rubber. How do I approach it? What happened in the game as well? Even had a little bit of a look at what Glasgow and Guildford will do next this upcoming weekend in the playoffs. That's an audio visual one, so you can just stick it on in the background and just listen to me talk you through it. But we've got the entire season's worth of games that I've been through. I've gone to Deeside, I've gone to Romford, I've gone to Oxford, I've gone to Slough, I've gone to Guildford, I've gone to Swindon, I've gone all over the place really to check out some awesome hockey. The awesome hockey that Britain has to offer, and I've given you, of course, our little in the box thinking series, some exclusive thoughts of what it's like to try and commentate and articulate those games in that live setting too. So you've got that. Hockey stories, like I say, new pieces coming in the summer. I've got a couple of bits and pieces lined up already, and they aren't strictly hockey stories, but if you're going to any of the playoff weekends, there's an exclusive interview in the Steel City Showdown one. There'll be an exclusive interview in the Coventry one as well. That's so always enjoy doing those. The Coventry one is being written over this weekend, but yes, there is an exclusive interview in the upcoming Steel City Showdown program with a really, really cool member of our British ice hockey family, so go and enjoy that. But yeah, there's last 14 years worth of bits and pieces over on the website, bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. The other bit, of course, is we are here Wednesday nights. What's Current stream 8 PM, the only show that covers the entirety of the National League structure, National North 1, South 1, North 2, South 2, and of course the YouTube channel has plenty of bits and pieces in it. You can please subscribe to the channel, keep the algorithm hamster happy, fat and fed. Check out the description, there's the links to our socials, our virtual busking hat at buymeacoffee.com/BOTW. Links to, if you like the 3D signs that we've got, 3D Lee can print those for you. There's a link to those in the description as well, and plenty of bits and pieces. And of course, we know some of you love to watch on catch up. You've had your password for this week to stick down in the comments that you leave down below. But of course, if you're here live with us, it means you get the chat. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything and everything you guys want to chat about as we talk our way through another week of British hockey, please feel free to do so. But if you are going to use the chat, please do remember the golden rule here at BOTW, which is DBAD, don't be a dick, be respectful of other people's thoughts and feelings, and we are going to have a jolly good time. Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. Of course, lots of bits and pieces going on. It's been a pretty busy weekend. All in all, he says, desperately trying this because, of course, what happened last week when Deeside stuck out a statement saying that they'd had an ineligible player on the bench and everything else, and had still carried on in the playoffs. So that's the joy of this one. So we do need to keep half an eye, although at the moment it does appear to be people tweeting about Vladdy Guerrero going back to the Toronto Blue Jays. And of course, we're all going to be keeping an eye on GB Women. Their Division 1B World Championships that's taking place in Dumfries starts tonight. It faced off at 8 p.m. They're playing Latvia. So I know Andrew's going to be keeping tabs. We will be keeping tabs on that game as well as best as we can do. And of course, ahead of those World Championships, we do of course wish the ladies all the very best. I don't believe in luck, so I will not wish them good luck because they have got the ability to win this on merit. So all the best to them. Of course, we'll be keeping tabs throughout the World Championships, and there are few finer places to be competing for gold than Dumfries. Either way, we should, as it's 11 minutes past, and I know people are here for the good stuff. Why is Patrick Smith sending me a message now? He's he's gone back through Twitter history and seen some of the seen some bits and pieces. I always worry, of course, with the Belfast Giants that we do need to congratulate, of course, who went down into the final few minutes of the Elite League season. But once again, Sheffield's loss in Coventry combined with their overtime win against the Nottingham Panthers, the Belfast Giants have once again climbed to the top of the mountain in the Elite League and are the Elite League regular season champions. We say well done to them on that front. Of course, the double secured again for Adam Keefe and his team, and the magic G word starts looming into view as the playoffs kick off this coming weekend in the Elite League. Belfast versus Dundee, Sheffield versus Glasgow, Nottingham versus Guildford, Cardiff versus Coventry. The 4 winners of those 2-legged quarter-finals will head to the Motorpoint Arena in Nottingham on the 19th and 20th. Of course, we will be focusing on the Coventry weekend and this upcoming weekend in Sheffield in the Steel City Showdown. Thomas Graham, where was the rule where you could politely apologise for icing an eligible player in the playoffs in 2018? Just ask you. You don't need to ask hypothetically, Tom. We did that discussion live when we found out about it. Paul Swindon. Why do I get the strange feeling though that given it was against Peterborough that Pat the Suffer was like, absolutely not, you're done. Slava Kulikov, a man of iron will who would not have abided such a thing. Either way, we're heading towards quarter past and we've got some really big news that we need to share about the National Division. So we are going to click some buttons and head and have a look at last weekend in the NIHL National Division. And of course we start last Friday night. It was Friday Night Lights for the Sheffield Steel Dogs and the Romford Raiders up at Ice Sheffield. And well, not so much Reid Morrison as Reid Forrison. He has been an absolute juggernaut in the playoffs. We talk about the fact that some of these Canadian guys, when they come over, sometimes you're a bit interested as to what you get in the regular season, and the word playoffs comes into play, and they turn into an absolute monster. And we have seen that. Aside from the fact, of course, we've got All-Star Walker Summer on one side, but ultimately it's the Raiders who get themselves in front 5-4 by the end of the second period. And then the Raiders just hold on all the way through the third period, and then put the Sheffield Steel Dogs very much on the back foot heading into Sunday. 2 goals from Walker Summer, as well as goals from Jack Brammer and Tate Shudra for the Steel Dogs. 4 from Reid Morrison on the night, and the other goal for the Raiders coming from Jake Sylvester. Heading then into Saturday, just the 3 games having been that game on Friday night, and again, another 2 teams deciding they just don't want to bother defending in the playoffs. And the Leeds Knights do get a point, but the Hull Seahawks with a huge win in overtime over the league champions at the Castle in this absolute back and forth monster of a game. Hull 3-1 up at one point. They let the champions back in. Hull go back ahead. Leeds go back ahead before a raft of goals at the end, including the game-tying goal from Owen Sobchuk with 13 seconds to play to get that massive point for Matty Davis's side. And then in overtime, Mr. Popular, the worldwide gift sensation that is Lee Bonner, scoring with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left to play on the clock, meaning that Hull head back across to the other side of Yorkshire with the extra point in their pocket. In the and another game that went the distance. This one went even further, going all the way to the shootout as Telford and Peterborough did battle. And another one where the momentum of this one went back and forth. Telford scored a James Smith power play goal 1 second from the end of the first period, putting them ahead 3-1 up before Peterborough come back into it and leading heading into the dying stages before a late goal from Devon Skaleski managed to get the Tigers something out of the encounter. But it goes all the way to the shootout, and who else can you count on in a shootout? We saw it in the playoffs last year, and it happens in the playoffs here as well. Mr. Peterborough, Luke Ferrara, finding the back of the net against Brad Day, and the Phantoms get the extra point in this one. And again on Saturday night, nobody on Saturday night, none of the home teams win their games. A huge night for the away sides. And in fact, if you include Friday as well, that entire first round of games, not a home winner in sight. But the Wildcats win in the Thunderdome. It was that loss against MK that took Swindon firmly out of the title race. But now they have put themselves in pole position in Group B. The Cats were ahead quite comfortably in this one, 3-0 to the good. Great character by the Lightning to come all the way back into this one. But then again, sometimes, like we keep saying in the playoffs, these names are the people that you expect, and they do come up time and time again. Cometh the hour, cometh the man, cometh Jake Bricknell. He scores with just 14 seconds to play. A little bit of controversy on the night about the goal, although watching it back, doesn't seem to be much controversy about it at all. A perfectly good goal there. Harry Gulliver, Dylan Lawrence with 2 goals for the Lightning, and for the Cats, Glenn Billing at Bricknell and Aaron Nell in regulation before Bricknell's overtime winner takes the extra point with the Cats back down to Wiltshire. Heading into Sunday then, and then certainly officially the door was closed in the Sheffield Steel Dogs. They will not be going to Coventry because Romford ran them aside. A huge 7-2 win for Adam Laysham's team there. Scoring from across the lines. Reid Morrison didn't need to do it all himself in this one, and some goals for some names we wouldn't necessarily expect, and one certainly the end I'm very happy to see. Brandon Ailiff, Sean Miller with 2, George Norcliffe, Jake Sylvester, Reid Morrison, and a playoff goal for Harvey Briggs into the bargain, having managed to see him live with my own 2 eyes properly this year. Massive fan of that young man. Great to see him rocking and rolling. And well, the Steel Dogs have only Pride to play for this upcoming weekend. Their 2 goals coming from Charlie Thompson and Walker Summer. Please hold your breath and don't be too surprised on that one. And then the Knights, well, the Knights are the Knights, and the champs are the champs for a reason. Knocked off their perch on Saturday, they come roaring back, and they beat Hull in regulation at the world's most versatile arena, 6-4, meaning that the team split the wins over the weekend, but the Knights still come out with 3 points instead of 2. Late goals in this one where the Seahawks were 4-3 to the good heading into the last 6 minutes, but come out the other side of a 6-4 defeat. Owen Sobchuk with a hat-trick for the Seahawks, and the other goal coming from Emil Svek. The goals for the Knights coming from Jordan Bruesa, Matt Barron, Ollie Endicott, 2 for Matt Bissonette and 1 for Kieran Brown in a massive character win for the Knights, having lost at home the night before. And then as Jamie said, by the looks of it, the Tigers are also out of the running as the Peterborough Phantoms win in regulation by 4-2 in Breton. A goal for Louis Kinnison, of course, who will miss the end of the playoffs for the Phantoms. He's off with GB under-18s this year, as well as a hat-trick from Cam Huff. Eric Henderson and Tom Byrne on the board for the Tigers in this one, who again will have to go into the last weekend playing for Pride. And then the overtime win on Saturday was big, and then the regulation win for the Wildcats even bigger. The Milton Keynes Lightning come out of the weekend with just the 1 point as Swindon put 4 on the board. A huge one, this one as well, where Swindon were 3-1 down in the 21st minute. Balin Pagotti had scored to get the Wildcats on the board, having been 2-0 down thanks to Dylan Lawrence and Ross Venus. Lawrence's goal at 20:27 made it 3-1. But just like MK had battled back the night before, Swindon battled back in this one, getting 2 goals in the space of 61 seconds in the second period. Ryan Wells, followed up by Jake Bricknell, made it 3-3 going into the third. And then the crucial goal coming just under 8 minutes from time in the form of Edgar's Bebris, and the Cats hold on to put themselves in prime position in their group of the playoffs. So as we have a look in Group A, yes, of course, yeah. Apologies there, Jamie. By the maths, Telford will lose out. Would lose out on tie breaks and bits and pieces like that, but they can at least cause some chaos this weekend. Leeds top of the group on 11 points, Peterborough on 10, Hull on 8, and those three are all still in the running. Still, the fact that one of Peterborough or Hull is not making commentary is going to be a big deal. And then in Group B, it is advantage Swindon with MK on 9 and Romford on 9. This is a huge weekend. Swindon effectively need 2 points from 2 games, and they will make their way back to Coventry, having not played at Coventry for a decade. They made it to the dance for the first time in 10 years in 2024 and have the chance to secure their passage back for the second time in 2 years this coming weekend. So then we need to have a look at the fixtures this upcoming weekend. And as we said, the Sheffield Steel Dogs, well, they obviously are only going to be playing at home on one day, and that's Friday ahead of the rest of the festivities happening this weekend in Sheffield. But it means under the Friday night lights, the Steel Dogs can throw a spanner in the works and can cause some real chaos on their way out the door for the 24-25 season. 7:30 p.m. face-off at Ice Sheffield, as the Sheffield Steel Dogs and the MK Lightning will go to battle on Friday night. Heading into Saturday then, and it's going to be 4 games this Saturday as opposed to 3 like last time, but some really big games. And certainly interesting when you look at Group A, because the Seahawks have the Tigers and the Phantoms have the Knights. This is the biggest chance for the Hull Seahawks to make commentary. I still said I think that this team can win the playoffs, but they have to get past Telford first, and hope the Knights will do them a favour as they play in Peterborough on Saturday evening. MK and Sheffield will go to battle in Group B on Saturday evening at the Thunderdome, and the Swindon Wildcats take on the Romford Raiders. These 2 teams met in the playoffs last year, and Romford sprung a surprise in Wiltshire last time out. The Ethan James show. Combined with Adam Leishram doing a head fake on Rennie Marr so good, he deked Rennie off across the road and into the TGI Fridays. No Ethan James this time, but can Ethan Ryder spring a similar surprise when the Cats and the Raiders meet this Saturday at the Link? And then into Sunday, where Max has not put the dates on, doesn't really matter. Max is off in Italy with GB under 18s, and of course we're massively thankful for all of the work Max has done this season for us here. He's a superb young man. But then on Sunday, the Knights and the Phantoms, the Tigers and the Seahawks, and the Raiders and the Wildcats, meaning that MK are left on Sunday to watch and wait and see what happens. Nikki's in the chat there from 4,000 and counting. Make sure that you check out Nikki's on with Ben from Zero Pucks Given, talking through bits and pieces, previewing the Steel City Showdown. Also as well, there's going to be kind of like Podcasters Union on Saturday night in Sheffield. Ben from Zero Pucks Given, Nikki from 4,000 and counting, Jono Langstaff from Stick to the Pod and the Billingham Starcast is going to be there. I assume Graham Hamilton's going to be there as well. Plenty of those guys getting together on Saturday night in Sheffield to do some bits and pieces. Stay tuned for links to stuff as they come out or whatever it is they do. That's going to be a ton of fun. Dave, Briggs, was an absolute pleasure to watch this season. The passion of Brandon Ailiff and the skill of TJ Anderson developing. Can't wait to see him grow in the Romford organisation. He looked superb, Dave, when I was down your way, and he's looked brilliant every time I've seen him as well. Jamie there with his Final Four prediction. I'm not going to comment on Guildford Nottingham because I've got to commentate on it, but I think that picking Coventry over Cardiff, I think there's some really smart money in that one. I know Cardiff are going to be hungry, but I think it's a bad matchup for the Devils. I think their form's been pretty poor, and I think just Coventry chaos, like the way Coventry play. If you ever watched any footage of the Dutch football team in the 80s and thinking about total football where everyone does everything, Coventry is like that, the hockey version. It's total hockey. It doesn't matter. Positions are just a thing people talk about to them. The only person who stays in his position is Matt Robson. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, Nikki said there's Steel Dogs to be spoilers on Friday. It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me. That is if you think about how cross that team is going to be, and yeah, It's the first year of something bigger in Sheffield. And so the fact it's not quite gone according to plan, they haven't maybe got the outcomes that they wanted. No huge surprise there. But for me, there's any team that's got Jamie McElroy involved in it is going to be chomping at the bit to cause a problem for everybody and anybody. And there is going to be one thing that Steel Dogs team is going to do. They're not going to roll over. They're not going to go down lightly. MK are going to have a fight on their hands come Friday night because it's a Steel Dogs team with nothing to lose, and all they can go out and do is cause chaos. That sounds like a barn burner to me. Either way, plenty of fun bits and pieces going on there. Or it could be over on the Saturday night of MK and Swindon both win their games as MK have the critical head-to-head over the Raiders. It could be, Jamie, yeah, it could all be done. However, if you lose on Friday night and if something or if something goes wrong on Saturday night, you never know. Could be nervous times. But ultimately, as you say, the bits and pieces, the maths favour the Lightning as it stands at the moment. Either way, then we better get into the big news of the show, which is why you are here. Which is having been grateful enough to be involved with England Ice Hockey, where they kindly asked us to reveal the all-star teams for the national division. We've been asked once again to avail ourselves live here on the show, and that is to reveal the nominees for the NIHL awards. So the awards, and let me go through all the spiel I have to remember at this point because I'll get my phone so I can quickly talk about the other teams as well. The awards themselves are being sponsored by the Ice Barn, which is the ice hockey store based in Basingstoke, and powered by True Hockey, who of course are ice hockey kit suppliers. So essentially, very very similar to what we had with the All Stars. So let me explain, because with no Max and not being able to sort stuff out last time, I've made the graphics for this. So bear with me. But either way, so essentially what has happened is that is same with the All-Star teams. So each club has had 3 votes. One for the coach, one for your bench coach slash assistant coach, and one for your captain. You cannot vote for members of your own team. And there is 3 awards that we're talking about here. That is Player of the Year. So the nominees will be up for Player of the Year, for Young Player of the Year, so anybody born 2005 or after is what I've been told, and for Coach of the Year. So each of the winners gets a bunch of Ice Barn supplied kit. They get stuff that comes from our friends at True Hockey, which is you get a kit bag, you get a cap, and you do get a trophy that is sponsored by the Ice Barn to go with all of your bits and pieces. Thank you, Andrew Nillall, between GB and Latvia in the women's world so far. So yeah, they all get that. The coaches as well, they get the hat, they get the cap, they get the trophy. They also get a brand new they also get a brand new sort of coach's clipboard, so one to draw up plays on and bits and pieces like that. There's some embroidering on it as well and all those kind of bits and pieces. So what we'll do, if I press this, let us get ourselves into the bits and pieces, because I put this here as a placeholder so we don't immediately have the issue of what's going on here. So what we'll do is we will start with the nominees for the NIHL National Division Player of the Year for 24-25, sponsored by the Ice Barn and powered by True Hockey. As we put them up on the board there. So the 5 nominees for the National Division Player of the Year are as follows. From the Leeds Knights, their captain, Kieran Brown. From the Romford Raiders, Sean Miller. From the Hull Seahawks, Owen Sobchuk. And then 2 nominees from the Sheffield Steel Dogs in the form of Walker Sommer and Sam Tremblay. So those are the 5 players nominated for the NIHL National Division Player of the Year Award. For the Young Player of the Year Award, 5 nominees there as well. Finn Braden of the Leeds Knights is joined by Owen Bruton of the Hull Seahawks, Noah Kerrainen of the Telford Tigers, Malik Martelli of the MK Lightning, because, amazingly, Malik Martelli is still 20 years old. I feel so ancient, it is terrifying. And the last nominee for the Young Player of the Year is Josh Poole of the Bristol Pitbulls. And then we have the nominees for Coach of the Year in the National Division. The Coach of the Champions, Ryan Aldrich of the Leeds Knights, is joined by Slava Kulikov of the Peterborough Phantoms. Adam Leishram of the Romford Raiders gets his nomination as well. Aaron Nell of the Swindon Wildcats, and Tom Watkins of the Telford Tigers. So those are the 3 awards. Those are the 5 nominees for each. The winners of the National Division Awards will be announced at the Coventry Playoff Weekend, the NIHL Final Four Weekend, the 19th and 20th of April at the Coventry Sky Dome Arenas, where we will find out the winners of those respective awards, who get the trophies as well as their True Hockey goodie bags given to them by the Ice Barn and powered by True. So there we go. There is the big news. There is the big news in terms of that one, where we have the awards and bits and pieces. Now the other awards were revealed across the course of today. Our friends at the Billingham Starcast, so Craig, Carol, and Jono, revealed the bits and pieces from the north. Ben on Zero Pucks Given, along with Nikki, revealed those from the south earlier today. We'll just quickly skim through them. So in terms of, there's 3 nominees in those respective divisions and 5 in the national. Looking at North, just having a quick look at North 1. So the nominees for Players of the Year in North 1 were Ian Brown of the Billingham Stars, Jake Witkowski of the Deeside Dragons, and Nicholas Otterson of the Solihull Barons. No huge surprise there for me, given the quality of all those 3. The Young Player of the Year nominees in North 1 are Tommy Spraggan of the Billingham Stars, Darragh Spafford of the Blackburn Hawks, and Alex Rushby of the Nottingham Lions. And then the Coach of the Year nominees in North 1, Dominic Osmond of the Blackburn Hawks, Stephen Foster of the double champion Billingham Stars, and then the Daintiff Roddy combination in terms of the Hull Jets. North 2 Player of the Year nominees, Morgan Glasby of the Sutton Sting, Taylor Stanton and Paul Davies, both of Telford Tigers 2. Young Player of the Year nominees in North 2, well, Stanton is 16 and currently has more points in the playoffs than Vladimir Luka, so he's up for the Young Player as well. Sam Dowd of the Billingham Buccaneers and Kane Morin of the Altrincham Aces up for the Young Player. And then the Coach of the Year in North 2, Ian Weedle of the Billingham Buccaneers, Gary Shaw of the Deeside Ducks, and Andy Brown of the Bradford Bulldogs. Interesting there that from the Coach of the Year nominees, none of the coaches making the Steel City Showdown in the running there. Just then looking at the South, Player of the Year in South 1, the nominees there. Well, we talk about them enough, and it's no huge surprise. Cam Bartlett and Grant Bartlett of the Chelmsford Chieftains are up for the award alongside Ryan Watt of Streatham. Young Player of the Year in South 1, Sebastian Moore of the Slough Jets, along with Charlie Turner of the Swindon Wildcats 2. And our boy, Max Van Mullen of the Romford Buccaneers are up for the Young Player of the Year. Of course, we will naturally be pulling for Max. I don't believe in being objective when it comes to people who are part of the team here. Coach of the Year nominees in South 1, Ken Forsey of the Swindon Wildcats 2, Lucas Smittle of Slough, and Lewis Clifford of the Chelmsford Chieftains. And then finally, South 2, Player of the Year nominees, 2 from the Peterborough Phantoms 2, Connor Pollard and Nathan Pollard, which, given the points they've scored, is not a huge surprise at all. They're up for the award alongside Aaron Ferris of the Invicta Mustangs. The Young Player of the Year award there, I do apologise, but young Mr. Martin of Peterborough, whose first name has just gone straight out of my head. Harry Thomas of the Cardiff Canucks alongside Ben Benedictos of the Haringey Huskies. The Coach of the Year nominations in South 2, Nathan Pollard of the Peterborough Phantoms 2, Trevor Hendricks of the Cardiff Canucks, and Stuart Potts of the Guildford Phoenix. If you want more in-depth looks at those award bits and pieces, so remember, if you want some good in-depth analysis of the things in the north, our friends at the Billingham Starcast, I can head over to Zero Pucks Given for all of the in-depth analysis of bits and pieces in the south, especially because they cover them much better than we do. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, how are we feeling about all that? Plenty of stuff there to talk about. I will very quickly. Nick Martin, thank you, Jamie. I just didn't have it to hand. His name, I was staring at it, and my list said N. Martin. I've just gone, I can't remember his name. Help, 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 help. And I figured it was better to just admit my fault rather than go through, rather than just sort of pretend and stare at the wall on that front. How are we feeling then about these about these awards, National Division wise, then Player of the Year. I mean, the fact that Tremblay's made that as well, given the fact he made the All-Star team, not a surprise because of course they'll have been asked for their votes all at the same time. I think all 5 have got a real case that they can kind of make. For me, I think it would be a little bit of a kicker to have Tremblay win this award and not finish the season because he went and signed for a team in the Elite League. Yes, that is the nature of the model they've got in Sheffield, but for me, I think I would prefer one of the other 4 just on that basis. Kieran Brown is a different breed. Sean Miller, of course, has been a massive revelation in Romford this year. Sobchak, the Leeds' leading point scorer, first team All-Star. I think if this is being done on a kind of an MVP basis, if you think about it that way, for me, actually, I think Sobchak has to kind of win it on that basis, purely just because of, I think, like, Leeds have shown that they can lose Kieran Brown for a couple of games and be okay. Sobchak's overall value to Hull, I'd argue that while he maybe isn't a better player than Brown, I think his overall impact to Hull and how they operate is higher. Similar kind of argument for Walker Summer, but I think Sobchak has shown he's been more impactful across the course of the season. Young Player of the Year, for me, is a little bit easier because for me, I appreciate that Noah Keharainen is in there, but Keharainen's only played 12 games this year. I don't really think he would warrant the award per se. Keharainen is a fantastic prospect and has got a massive future, but for me, not this year. Owen Bruton has been solid, but I think again, I don't necessarily think it's his year. For me, I think it's probably between 2 in there. Josh Paul for me just misses out, even though he's been massively impactful for both Bristol and for Berkshire this season. It's a toss up really between Finn Braden and Malik Martelli. For me, Braden just edges it, and I think Malik will suffer in the voting from a little bit of consistency bias. He's been so good for so long, whereas I think Braden has had such a breakout year, I think he will probably end up winning it. But Martelli, I think, has got an equally good case as well. Malik Martelli really should be on the radar of every Elite League club in the South. He should, Cardiff should be after him, Coventry should be after him, Guildford should be after him. The lot of them should be after him, really. And I think his days in the National Division should be numbered if Malik wants to push on that front. What have we got there? Can't have Tremblay in the top 5 for obvious reasons. Would have had Jordan Cowney instead. And I realise that. I think my issue, I think, in terms of picking an MK player at the top end of that was, where is your line leader? Kieran Brown kind of leads the line. I've had this conversation with a couple of people as well. Where was Sam Gospel in that? And I feel that sometimes goalies do suffer in these things because goalies don't score. A goalie can save you the game, and a goalie can keep you in the game, but a goalie can't necessarily win you the game. And that's not that's an argument that has its faults. But people will generally, folk will generally look towards the people who score and impact the game more going forward than they will going back, per se. It's almost why we should have had a goalie and a defenseman of the year involved in this as well to kind of better recognise this. But this is the nature of what it is. We didn't set these up. And I think for me, my MK up at the cup semi-finals, losing out on the league again, whereas Braden has just been that bit more impactful this season in that Leeds side. He was a bit more of a bit part player this year, and he's really forced the issue of putting himself into that top 6 on a regular basis for Leeds. I think that Braden wins it, but between him and Martelli, I think that you've got your options either way. Coach of the Year is a fascinating one, and whilst I'm very grateful for their hospitality, and of course I do write for them, I think in terms of who's done the best coaching performance across the course of the year, out of those 5, I think really it has to be Adam Leishram. I don't think anybody expected Romford to be as good as they have been. And I was watching Slapshot Syndicate earlier where the boys talked about that maybe Romford have kind of overachieved. I think that's a relatively good point. But I think Romford making the cup final is massive. I think it was such a surprise that in terms of the coaching performances, and yes, since they made the cup final, their form has been wonky and all over the place. Leishram himself on the ice has suffered badly with injury this year, but I think what he's managed to get, who's got more than the sum of their parts out of their rosters there? Because I'd argue that Slava might do it in the playoffs, but he's not gotten the most consistency out of them in the league season. Telford. There's an argument for Tom Watkins because they started so badly. He pulled the trigger, made the changes, Vladimir Luka was the Telford Tigers' top scorer when he got sent down to Division 2. Let's remember that. And they went on this massive run, and there's a real argument there for what Watkins was able to do in terms of turning things around and Telford pulling themselves back into the playoffs and sending Solway back to the golf course pretty heavily there. Aaron Nell, I think I sympathise with, and he's probably, certainly Ryan Wells might be the signing of the season for a lot of people, but I'm not sure necessarily where his coaching has kind of been elevated as to what it's been in the last couple of years. Ryan Aldrich is Ryan Aldrich, and the fact he's coached Leeds back to a double, there'll always be a case there. For me, I actually kind of think that Lasham might take this, just because of in terms of an overall coaching performance, who got the most out of what they had. Then I think you kind of do have to look towards Romford. A roster put together at really short notice with everything that happened with the change of ownership and everything that was going on, to then have them run the table, beat MK in MK to make the cup final, and then push Leeds to the limit before just missing out. And then, getting themselves into the playoffs. They're causing a nuisance in the playoffs too. Obviously, the voting's well done before this, but I think, for me, I think you have to look towards Lasham or Watkins because of what they've been able to do in terms of their coaching ability. If Ryan Aldrich takes it, I think we all just have to kind of shrug our shoulders and go fine, as it is. Swindon have improved dramatically defensively as this season as a collective. They certainly have been better defensively, but I think the issue for Swindon is they do too much of the same thing that they've done before, and ultimately they made all that improvement to finish in exactly the same place as they did last year. There's my argument against Swindon. And I said at the beginning of the season in the preview piece for the What's Current stream, I'll change back to this now. As I said at the beginning, it felt like they just kind of shuffled the deck chairs and getting different guys in. They've got too many guys, it feels like, who do the same thing. And I think they've used Wells better defensively than I was anticipating, because it looked like they'd signed a Canadian version of Ed Bradley. And they are incredibly similar. Certainly going forward, they're incredibly similar. But certainly Wells is much better defensively. His positioning is better than Ed Bradley. And but I think overall, it's so much of the same thing that I think it's tough to kind of do that. Date will stave so there. So having seen 7 Max, both are deserving winners. Miller has been massive, but could do with less pims. The penalty minutes argument, if he's able to do that much and to get that many penalty minutes, yes, you can turn around and say, what would he have done if he'd not done that? But he's doing that whilst being a physical presence for you guys as well, and I think there's something to say about that too. And a physical presence is one of the things I think Swindon have lacked properly for ages, because Bricknell has focused much more on goal scoring than being physical. he's had a couple of dust ups, but Swindon still suffer from not being an overly physical side. They can get bullied. They can get bullied out of games, and they can get game planned out of games really easily, because I watched the Bees do it to them in Swindon. The thing is, at this level, it's the NIHL, not the NHL. Everybody's got their deficiencies in their various departments that we can all point at. Lacia's been a breath of fresh air. Hopefully with a full season he can fix our Colin Tubby Cooler defence. Well, the issue I think there is going to be, and particularly because of course the rumours are doing the rounds again, that it's going to be another import. Import D for Romford, I think, becomes the immediate thing that you look at in that one. And whether we'll go down that route remains to be seen. Of course, 4 imports, even though it's been talked about, not been confirmed yet, so we don't want to dive too heavily into that one. No, he says quickly checking, no other news at the moment. Although Guildford have put out what their playoff jerseys actually look like, and they are okay. They look better in the flesh. The initial pictures did not fill me with confidence heading into this one. The other thing, of course, that we need to look at ahead of the weekend is Matt Hayward, of course, will be playing his final game at the Castle. He will retire at the end of the season, so certainly congrats to him on that one. Fascinating, hopefully the Leeds fans will give him a proper send-off. He's been a model professional for the night since coming down from the clan. Hopefully as well, given the amount of service he gave to the clan, when he actually does retire, Glasgow retire his jersey, he definitely deserves that one. Watching Swindon this season has been far more entertaining than the previous for me, but we still need to improve on physicality. We get bullied rather often, and that has been game changers. Yeah, I certainly think that obviously I think the thing for Swindon is finding that line. I think the Swindon are very good about not getting suckered into doing the physical stuff, sort of getting into altercations. But the problem is that you can get checked out of games, and I think that's an issue. for Swindon. It's been an issue for a time, and it's one that wasn't addressed last year and hasn't been addressed really this year. So, because if you think, say Swindon win the playoff group, they will end up against either, if we're realistic, you're getting Hull or Peterborough. And ultimately, Peterborough might, Peterborough being Peterborough, we know what Peterborough are going to do. But there's a way for Swindon to win that game, which is to put pressure on, score early, force Peterborough to come out, because when Peterborough have to be forced out of their shell, the gaps open, you score more goals. They're not a super physical side. If Swindon get Hull in a playoff semi-final at Coventry, everybody's getting a run. And you know what Hull are going to do. And how does Swindon stop that? Because Hull play Vindaloo hockey. We're going to score one more than you. So Hull are going to do two things. Put the puck on net and hit you. How does Swindon get past that? That's a big question. Next update on Basingstoke should be coming soon, I believe. They've told us it's going to be a couple of weeks, actually, Jamie, just because they are in the middle of some specialist demolition work. So I venture we are not going to hear an update on Basingstoke until a certain weekend where a lot of us will be gathering in the Midlands. Is where we're going to be on that front, if I'm 100% honest. Second period is just faced off in Dumfries, 0-0 between GB and Latvia as GB outshoot their guests 23-5. Oh dear. Clinical. Be clinical, folks. That's the way forward on that front. I'm just going to very quickly blow my nose. I'm having a bit of an issue here. There we go. Oh, how. Hay fever is a killer, and I hate it. Either way, let me click that button. Because, of course, we've got some other playoff hockey that we need to talk about, and a big weekend coming up for all of us. Let's head, as we usually do first, up to North 1 for the playoff semi-finals. And, well, D-side, off the back of all of their drama and their controversy, they did end up getting themselves through in overtime against the Hull Jets. And, of course, there was all the mystery about ineligible players that was sort of shaken hands on and carried on. And D-side had to host Billingham. Now, I was at D-side versus Billingham a couple of weeks ago when the Stars had already won the title, and it was a very odd game where D-side went a few goals up before Billingham woke up. Billingham gave them no quarter. It was only 1-0 after the first period, but Billingham were 8-0 up by the 50th minute. Cade King finally getting the Dragons on the board before Ian Brown reminded them of just why they were here, scoring his 11th goal in 3 games. Which is, as you say, mildly terrifying. So as we say, Cade King from Mike Clancy and Brady Jessen for the Dragons. For the Stars, a hat-trick for Ian Brown, 2 for Rollins Grittans, and goals for Callum Wilkinson, Tom Wakefield, Michael Elder, the captain, and Ben Greenhalgh at the other end, as Jacob Hammond faces 41 shots. Both netminders getting some action in this one. And then on Saturday night, a bit of a surprise. Of course, we went through all of the rigmarole with Blackburn and Solihull, and this one, the doors were open and everyone was let in for free as Betty was having her birthday party at Hobbsmoat Road. But the Barons snuck out with a win in this one, winning by 3-2. Nicholas Otterson putting the Barons ahead in the first period. Aaron Davies equalising for the Hawks so make it 1-1 at the end of the second period. But then Solihull get 2 goals quick in the third. Jacob Race and Zach Yokoyama on the board before a late goal from Dara Spafford got the Hawks back within touching distance, and a 3-2 win for the Barons. In this one, as you can see, pretty even shot count all in all, pretty impressive 42 save performance from Graham Laverick. Well, the D-side Dragons knew it was going to be an uphill task, and it was 2-2 after 25 minutes when again Billingham decided that they had just had enough of this nonsense, and off they went, and they ended up scoring 11 unanswered goals, having been 2-1 down in the second period, to absolutely put the Dragons well away. A final aggregate score of 21-3, and Billingham have scored 43 goals in 4 playoff games. We are in la la land when it comes to this. Chris Sykes is 3 plus 15 through 4 games in the playoffs so far. Terrifying numbers heading into the weekend. Ross Kennedy and Daniel Svadievs with the goals for the D-side Dragons. As we know that both Mark Lovell and James Parsons of the D-side Dragons have officially called time in their careers. They're going to be coaching in the junior system in North Wales. We wish them both the very best. We thank them for their contributions on the ice, and I wish them all the best going forward off the ice. Otherwise, for Billingham, it was a story of lots of twos. 2 goals and 6 points on the night for Chris Sykes, 2 goals and 4 points for Conor McNulty, 2 goals and 4 points for Michael Elder, 2 goals and 4 points for Ian Brown on the evening, 2 goals as well for Roland Grittans on the evening, and the other goals coming from Joe Walls and Darren Stattersfield as the Stars march on towards their 3rd trophy of the season. At Hobbsmoat Road, Solihull were in command until they weren't. The Blackburn Hawks overturned the deficit from the night before. It was a tight one. Dan Mulcahy putting the hosts ahead after 34 seconds before Adam Barnes tied the game. Blackburn putting themselves in front and tying up the tie at 11:39 through Jacob Lutwich before a goal before the end of the first from Alex White put Solihull back in command. But from there, the Hawks found their second wind and pushed on. James Riddock, 2 goals from Jacob Lutwich and a goal early in the 3rd period from Andy McKinnon, making it 6-2 on the night, 8-5 on aggregate, and the Barons could not find a way back through Ben Keddy. And what it means is that the Blackburn Hawks and the Billingham Stars will dance the dance again, with Billingham having won the Cup over the Hawks having beaten the Stars in the Cup and the playoffs last year. Remember, the Stars were winning the playoff final before the Hawks came back and beat them in the shootout. And now it means that for to become Northern champions again, they will meet on Saturday to put this one to bed as to who, for the moment, can call themselves for the moment at any rate, can call themselves the Kings of the North. In the south, Jordan Lordday was heading towards retirement as he moves abroad. His last game at home, playing alongside his brother Matt against Ryan Watt, one of his oldest friends, and well, it was not a good night for Jordan Lordday. The Streatham Redhawks, burned by their experience against the Chieftains in the Cup semi-final, came to the Riverside, and they were terrible house guests. 1-1 at the half-hour mark, and then 6 unanswered goals from the Redhawks to put this one to bed. Danny Ingoldsby with a hat-trick on the night, as well as goals for Ben Painter, 2 for Luke Brittle, and the last one near the death for Ryan Watt. Dan Hitchings with the lone goal for the Chieftains in this one. Jordan Lordday making 31 saves. Danny Milton also making 31 saves as the Redhawks outshot the Chieftains in their final home game of the season. And just like Streatham were bad house guests, so was Slough, putting Invicta fully to the sword. It was pretty tight for a little while. Slough 2-0 up after the first period thanks to Ben Ely-Newman. James Laming pulling it back to 2-1 before the Moore brothers went mad. Seb Moore, then Christian Moore. Brandon Miles made it 5-1 before the end of the second period, and 2 goals in the third from Juha Lindgren gave the Jets a comfortable 7-1 win as they head back. Matt Smithell, as you can see, they're only facing 19 shots. Brad Windybank faces 59 and makes 52 saves. On Sunday, it was a comfortable professional performance again from the Jets to put the Dynamos to bed and out of the way. No goals in the first period before Juha Lindgren and Louis Colvin evened things out. Jack Goodchild's goal inside the last minute of the second, and then the Moore brothers getting in on the act in the third. 11-2 on aggregate, 4-0 on the night, and the league champs booked themselves at a very short flight up towards Sheffield. And then, well, there was to be no miracle on the high road this time for the Chelmsford Chieftains. We all remember what happened in that Cup semi-final where 5 goals down, the Chieftains turned it around and shut out the Redhawks on home ice. It was not to be this time, and Streatham would not be burned twice. 0-0 through the first period and 0 almost into the second half of the second before Josh Ely-Newman got the Redhawks on the board. Roman Cathcart and Danny Ingoldsby both scoring before the end of the second to make it 3-0. Sam Russell gets the final say of on this tie and the final goal of the season for Chelmsford as Streatham win by 10 goals to 2 on aggregate. A comfortable performance again. Danny Milton facing 41 shots but turns all but one away. A much more calmer night for Jordan Lordday. He ends his time in British hockey and is saluted off the ice. 34 saves from 47. We wish Jordan all the best to him and his family on their new venture. And it means that 7:45, they are the main event of the night on Saturday in Sheffield. The Slough Jets and the Streatham Redhawks will do it all over again. Remembering, of course, that the Redhawks hold the season series over the Jets. Apologies there, just pressed the wrong button. There we go. Into North 2 then, and it was a repeat of last year's final in the semi-final this time. The Billingham Buccaneers and the Sutton Sting. And Billingham, well, the Billingham are going to be kicking themselves. This game was backwards and forwards. Billingham came from behind, from 3-2 down to lead 5-4 before late goals killed this one off. Sutton winning by 6 goals to 5 in the Forum to keep things interesting heading into Sunday evening. 2 goals for Stephen Wallace and goals from Sam Dowd, Simon Geldarth and Lewis Hall for the Buccaneers. A 4-goal night for Ryan Apsley in the for the Sutton Sting. Huge performance there. 3 assists for Morgan Glasby on the night, and the other goals coming from Joe Colton and Elliot Meadows in this one. And then, in all eyes on the Sky Dome, where the Telford Tigers won their Midlands derby, and they shut out the Blaze in their final home game of the season by a score of 4-0. Vladimir Luca, Lewis Smith, Liam Bartholomew, and Dan Mitchell doing the business for Tigers 2 in that one to put them in a comfortable position heading into Sunday's second leg at home. They outshoot the Blaze by 59-32. A 32-shot shutout for Matt Byrne in the Tigers' net as Hayden Laverick makes 55 saves. And close but not quite. Last year's playoff champions, somewhat of a surprise playoff champions given it was their first season, are out. Sutton Sting win by 4 goals to 2 against the Billingham Buccaneers. It's a 10-7 aggregate win, and having lost out on the league and lost out on the cup, the Sting have all eyes on going home to Ice Sheffield on Saturday to prove a point against Telford, because we all know they made it through. Sutton 3-0 to the good by the 27th minute. Billingham pulling it back to 3-2 by the end of the second to keep them within touching distance. But Lawson Glasby's goal in the third makes it all but academic, and the Sting are off to play at home, as it were. It was comfortable for Telford in the end, 7-1 victory. Slightly nervous inside the first period, but it was 1-1 within the space of about a minute there in the middle. Taylor Stanton's goal cancelled out by Ashton Rudkin, but then Tigers did what good sides do, and they said we've done enough of this. Ollie Hunt, Vlad Luke, Dan Mitchell, Liam Bartholomew, Josh Hustwick, and Callum Griffin. And that's going to be the issue for any team from South too. It's just the sheer depth of scoring from Telford. An 11-1 aggregate win in the end. Telford outshooting Coventry by 42-19. Matt Byrne and Josh Minns both getting some time. Hayden Laverick and Joel Behrman getting a bit on the getting to be on the ice as that one. But ultimately, it is a comfortable start, and they will be the opening shot of the Steel City Showdown. Telford and Sutton will do it all again. And then into South 2. The Oxford Rising Stars have been an interesting side, and lots of people I've spoken to have talked about how chaotic they are to play at times because you don't know what you're getting. Guildford were not having any of it. The league champions come out and win by 12 goals to 0 at the Ox Pens, absolutely putting Oxford to the sword. 5-0 after the first, 9-0 after the second, before somewhat letting their foot off the gas apparently. But a massive, wide range of scoring into this one as well, as Oxford are given an absolute smacking around. 2 goals for Josh Sherrington, 2 for Josh Abbott, 2 for Scott Bailey, 2 for Sean Reynolds, and goals for Harry Wright, Jacob Rondo Smith, Jared Vigar, and Teo Sire, as Jack Garner gets a 23-shot shutout. Charlie Hanley and Kayla Poole both get time in net for the Rising Stars. The Cardiff Canucks were the ones that sprung the surprise. They knocked out the Haringey Huskies in the quarter-finals, knowing it was going to be tough against a Peterborough side that put 22 goals on Solent the week before. And well, I'd said to Trevor Hendricks during the week, keep it into single figures, and they certainly did that. Cardiff, in fact, leading after 28 seconds before Peterborough turned things on its head. Connor Pollard, James White scoring before the end of the first, and then Pollard, Nick Martin making it 4-1 by the end of the second. Late goals from Jack Sansby and James Pentecost put extra shine on the win for Peterborough. A 6-1 victory at home, heading down towards Cardiff Bay on Sunday evening. A bit of a calmer performance from Guildford in the end, but one that was still pretty comprehensive. 5-1 on the night, 17-1 on aggregate, and the Phoenix are comfortably into the South 2 playoff final. Scott Bailey, Josh Sherrington, Harry Wright, Teo Sire, and Sol Stoodley with the goals for the Phoenix. The last goal of the Rising Stars season comes from Griff Eden Parish in this one, as the Phoenix again heavily outshoot their opponents. A 27 save night for Jake Stoodley in goal for the Guildford Phoenix, as both Caleb Poole and Toby Sutherland both get some time on the ice. Toby Sutherland coming in there right at the very end. Great to see him get some ice into the bargain as well, as Caleb Poole has been really impressive for the Rising Stars this year. And well, the glorious upset was not to be. Shut out on home ice in the second leg, Peterborough with a 4-0 comfortable win away at the Cardiff Canucks, a 10-1 aggregate victory, and the Cup winners and the Eddie Joseph Memorial Cup winners are heading back to do the dance with Guildford all over again. James Pentecost, Nathan Pollard, James White and Leo Markey with the goals for Phantoms 2, who again almost double up in shots their hosts. Luke Clark with a 26 save shutout. Harry Thomas making 46 saves off of 50 shots in the Canucks net. So what I do is I press this one, because this is what we get come the end of the come this weekend at the Steel City Showdown. 4 finals, all on Saturday. Each of the respective divisions getting their play-off finals. North 2 get to go up first. 10:45 face-off between the Telford Tigers 2 and the Sutton Sting. Then followed at 1:45 p.m. by the South 2 final, the Guildford Phoenix and the Peterborough Phantoms. Both teams won away from home in their respective league tie before the Phantoms took the cup. Who will get the better of the one-off game this time, as Guildford try to go for a title that they have struggled to win in recent years. 4:45 p.m. then between the Billingham Stars and the Blackburn Hawks, a repeat of the North 1 Cup final of the last 2 years, and the repeat of last year's North 1 player final as well. Can the Stars finally put this one to bed? And then, as we said, the main event of the evening, the late show, is 7:45 p.m. and what promises, if you've not watched hockey from the South, if you are at Sheffield, or if you pick up any of the streams that they will eventually put out for this one, Slough Jets, Streatham, this is going to be a barn burner, and it's no disrespect to the other ones, but having had the opportunity to see these two sides go head to head, this weekend is going to be a great advert for NHL hockey. This game is going to be something else. It's going to be really, really impressive. So of course, what we will then have by the end of Saturday night, we will have playoff champions in North 2, South 2, North 1 and South 1. And remember that the winners of the regional finals will play a national playoff final on Sunday. So the winner of Telford and Sutton takes on the winner of Guildford and Peterborough. The winner of Billingham and Blackburn takes on the winner of Slough and Streatham. That, of course, will give us national playoff champions, and we get a national Division 1 champion the following weekend in Coventry, when Slough and Billingham might just get an early look at each other. Just having a look here at bits and pieces. I think if MK do get through this weekend, I'm very nervous about it. I just want the boys to get the job done. Leeds versus MK in a semi-final for everyone will be for a treat. That's very true. John Akers, as a Southwark fan, I'm looking forward to seeing the likes of Brown, Sykes, Barn, Lutwich and how they compare. You are in for a treat. Blackburn and Billingham is, I waxed lyrical there a little bit about Slough and Streatham because I've had the opportunity to see it a couple of times in the last couple of years with my own two wives. It's such good hockey. But make no mistake, folk from the South, like Billingham and Blackburn, it's different stylistically. It's a little slower, a bit less sort of rigidly drilled structure, arguably a bit more creative than Slough. Slough and Streatham might be. You are in for some really good hockey. What are the times of the games on Sunday in Sheffield? I have forgotten, Jamie, because I've only got the graphic for Saturday because I forgot to download. I forgot to download the time. So let's quickly pull this up whilst we're talking about it. Let's put in someone, if they find it, put it in the chat first because I've completely forgotten it. Showdown. There we go. They will be even better defensively next year. Yes, Swindon, yes. So I've heard, Nikki. So I've heard, I think is probably what I said. Latvia just scored. Well, we don't like that. That's not very good. So, Sunday, Steel City Showdown. The Division 2 National Player Final, 1 p.m. Division 1 National Player Final, 4:30 p.m. So those are your times on Sunday. 1 p.m. for Sutton or Telford versus Guildford or Peterborough. And then 4:30 p.m. for Billingham or Blackburn versus Slough or Streatham. That's what we've got there. It's Latvia scoring is the proof of the point that you must be clinical with your shooting. But either way, I mean, certainly the weekend, I am fascinated to see what happens. I feel bad for the Suttons team because they just seem to be in that position where they just can't quite get over the hump. Last year, Billingham did the hard part for them and beat Telford in the playoffs for then Sutton to lose to Billingham. So what happens there, I don't know. You'd be foolish to bet against Telford though. Taylor Stanton has been absolutely ridiculous. Probably likely to get Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year in North 2. You got Vladimir Luka, who, let's face it, it's like Vladimir Luka playing in North 2 this year. It's a bit like Adam Jones playing in South 2 last year. They're way too good for this hockey IQ wise. For me, Telford get through. South 2 is a much harder one to call. It depends on a few factors. Having watched what Peterborough did to Guildford in the first leg of the South 2 Cup final, it's really easy to see where Guildford's weaknesses lie, which is that they don't chase games well. And so if Peterborough can get a couple of goals on them, they'll sit back. It's like Peterborough Phantoms 2 is like Slava light, but they do occasionally go forward. And it should be a lot of fun, and it should be good on that front. The sting went on it until Telford inherited an import national player. I mean, that's not Telford's fault in that front. Like Vladimir Luka, like they didn't say, "Oh, we're going to send you down to Telford to win them Division 2." Like Luka lives there now, and he was running out of gas at national division level, so they felt. So that's what they did. He wanted to keep playing. So it's not like he's turned up at Telford and like only played the home games. He's turned up for Tigers too and gone to every game. Like he's really put a shift in on that front. For me, it's Telford. Like I say, the Guildford are really good, keeping themselves within distance and then stealing them. That's what Guildford do. If they're a couple of goals down, they struggle to change. But if they're a goal down with like a couple of minutes left, you can't rate Guildford out until the buzzer goes. If they're 3 goals down, then they'll struggle. If Guildford are a couple of goals up, that's going to be harder. I think ultimately you get Telford versus Peterborough would be an interesting one stylistically, just because I'd be interested as to what would happen there. It'd be a bit more sort of shot heavy, I think, if Guildford get through. But it's really like that South 2-1's such a toss up. I don't know. Blackburn versus Billingham, for me, you can't bet against the Stars. Mostly because I just think the Stars have just got that little bit extra. Last year at Coventry, Billingham didn't believe they should have been there, or didn't want to be there to a point, until they realised that they were in the game. It was too late. And I think that Billingham have just got too much quality. And they've proven it across the course of the season, but they've also proven it in the big moments too. So I think that Billingham do get past Blackburn. Slough and Streatham again is a really hard one, because I think, as we've seen, the issue for Slough, Streatham dropped games at poor moments where Slough didn't. But in an individual game, Streatham have shown that they have an edge. If there's a game that goes to overtime, it's this one. And I think that for me, if this game goes to overtime, Slough win it. If a team's going to win it in regulation, it's going to be Streatham. I think Streatham. If Streatham, I think, will struggle because they are a bit slower. So the longer a game goes on, it can against a team that can skate really, really well, it can be really hard. But I think there's a lot to be said, and I know, and I can see him there, that Jono and the Billingham lot, they want to win on Saturday, and they want Streatham on Sunday because they feel they've got some unfinished business. So we will see what happens on that one. But yes, Nicky, I know what you're talking about there. Joe Scutts, the man, the myth, the legend, of course, NHLstats.wordpress.com. Make sure you check out all that Joe does. I want 6 great games, all gas, no breaks. I also don't want you to lose your voice. We've got work to do. Maybe Sutton get a Yokoyama, things might change. Hey, Sutton are good. Sutton are really good. King in net. The Glasby's there as well. Like, there's a lot going on. Yes. So that rumour isn't just pre-season, off-season build-up then, Nicky. No, it's not. I'm more worried but intrigued to see who they'll be replacing. Exciting, but I do hope the other rumour I've heard isn't true. And now Latvia are 2-0 up. Great. Terrific. Either way, we're done. Every game from across the NIHL over the past weekend is done. National, North 1, South 1, North 2, South 2. We've talked about it all. We've even had a little bit of a preview this weekend of the Steel City Showdown. And that means we open the door. Anything anybody wants to talk about, questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything you want to stick in the chat, let's stick in the chat and have a chat about it, because there's obviously a lot to talk about. And first things first, of course, is that... Oh, apologies there. Probably had a bit of a moment there. Something felt like it was about to go down the wrong way. But of course, the first big bit of news is the record. One of the records they said would never be broken has been broken. Alexander Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals is the new leading all-time goal scorer in the National Hockey League, scoring his 895th goal this past Sunday against the New York Islanders at the UBS Arena. The Caps lost the game and nobody cared, all things considered, because they stopped the game for 22 minutes to do a ceremony in the middle of the game. And the Caps then still won the Metro Division a couple of nights later. I know Jamie is a fellow Capitals fan as well. I have ordered my t-shirt that should hopefully be coming before too long. Just a ridiculous human. And it's just the sheer volume of goals he scored. Ovechkin has scored 41 goals at 39 years old, having missed 16 games with a broken leg this season. I mean, you do wonder, the part of me wonders, and there's... Alexander Ovechkin's legacy will always be a discussed thing, right? Because people will talk about Ovechkin as a whole person, and yes, we are aware that he has expressed support for Vladimir Putin, and he has very handily tried to dodge around a lot of the discussions about bits and pieces. And you know my feelings here, that you cannot separate sport from the rest of life. Sport does not live in a bubble. Politics and who we are is a legitimate topic of discussion, just as Gretzky's support of Trump is a legitimate topic of discussion, because you can't just look at the man's accomplishments in one bit and not measure them up against the other. Wrestling fans will tell you about that. Google Chris Benoit if you don't. But certainly we can honour the fact that Ovechkin has heavily contributed to the Capitals organisation in terms of making it a thing to, turning it around in terms of what it was. He has dedicated himself to the sport. He has, done something that people thought was impossible. And ultimately, he's only 105 goals off of 1,000. Does he maybe stay beyond his contract at the end of next year? And try to go for 1,000 and then call time? Eventually he doesn't. I think he will retire from the NHL at the end of the 25-26 season. Unless he's scored a ridiculous amount of goals and he can kind of see it being within his grasp. But I think 2026 will be the end of the Alexander Ovechkin era for the Washington Capitals. He will go back to Dynamo Moscow and call time. But there is, Ovi's legacy as an overall individual will have those questions asked about it, because he's shown support for a politician who has started a preemptive, aggressive war of invasion against one of its neighbours. And that is part of who he is, as well as the fact that he is the greatest goal scorer of all time and he plays for the club that I support. We can sometimes find a way to balance and spin those plates in our head where others of us can't. And I think it's an interesting quirk of humanity that we can do that. But Alexander Ovechkin is also going to go down as the greatest goal scorer in the history of ice hockey. And we have to, as an ice hockey podcast, we can love that and we can respect that and we can love his passion for the game and how he plays and question some of his political choices at the same time. We can do that too. Great One was busy providing assists. And that's the thing as well. Is Ovechkin the greatest player ever? No. And I think the conversation there becomes between whether it's Gretzky or Howe, depending on what your era was and so on and so forth. But Gretzky's title as the greatest goal scorer in hockey is gone. And I think there's a discussion to be had when Ovechkin retires about what you do about the Rocket Richard. Ovi's led league goal scoring more times than Richard did. He has broken the record for the most goals. I don't necessarily think you just rename the award, but I think you do have to start calling it the Richard Ovechkin Top Goal Scorer Award. I think that has to be done. What's trying to put there? North and South, it goes 3 divisions of 7 with promotion and relegation. 7 would be a terrible idea. It means uneven numbers. if there's one thing the National Division have been desperate to do, is to try and get back to an even number. I don't think that would happen. Ice time is an issue in a few places as well. We would see. What I would have preferred, if I was 100% honest, is the SNL joins, is that we have one governing body for the entirety of the country, and the SNL joins in alongside NHL Division 1, and you had it conferenced up like that, and we could maybe have 4 conferences at Div 1 level and work out Division 2 in a slightly different way. But such is the way of things. The other big bit of news, of course, is that Liam Kirk, the current best British ice hockey player playing the sport today, will go for his first DEL championship. The Eisbären Berlin sweep the Adler Mannheim 4-0 in their semi-final series. They won last night by 6-2 in Mannheim to finish that series off, meaning that the Eisbären Berlin, the defending champions of the DEL, and already locked in for a should be locked in for a place for the Champions Hockey League again next year, will be back in the DEL finals, and Liam Kirk will of course be a big participant in that. It has been all eyes on Ty Rolling because of his ridiculous point scoring streak. I think it's had 21 games in a row he's tallied at least a point, which is really impressive in German hockey, all things considered. But Liam Kirk, he left Britain, and like I say, at the moment, shouldn't come back anywhere near the place. He went to North America, he went to Finland, he went to Czechia, got quite far in the Czech playoffs last year, but he is now going to be in his first 7-game final series. Who they're facing, it's not decided as of yet. The team that finished top of the regular season, the ERC Ingolstadt, are taking on the Kölner Haie at the moment, and it's been a pretty tight series. Köln were a game down. They got battered 7-0 in the opener before getting shut, forcing their way back into it. What we will do very quickly, let's just quickly hit, just because I believe Ingolstadt and Köln were playing tonight, and it has ended 2-1 to Köln, which I make them as having a 3-1 series lead. They do. It's a 3-1 series lead for the Kölner Haie, and what that means is Game 5 is this coming Friday, the 11th of April, 6 p.m. face-off UK time, 7 p.m. local, meaning that Köln have match point, and they have 3 games to put themselves into a final series against the Eisbären Berlin. Now, ultimately, we would like a quick Berlin victory, because if series went all 7 games, Kirk would be out of the start of the World Championships for Great Britain, because Game 6 is scheduled for the 27th of April and Game 7 for the 29th, meaning that if it went that far, Liam Kirk would not be available for GB to start Worlds. So what we would like is somebody to get through and then to finish this off as quickly as humanly possible, please. Although if Köln won on Friday night, we could potentially get an earlier start to that series, and that would seriously help GB's World Championships. What have we got there as well? Andrew has very kindly put in the WNIHL results, of course. No Elite League games in the WNIHL last weekend due to prep for the World Championships this weekend, so we'll just have a quick look back. Division 1 South in the WNIHL from Saturday, a really comprehensive win in that local derby, and the honours go to the England side of the Severn Bridge as the Bristol Huskies beat the Cardiff Comets by 18-1, and then it was a double weekend for the Huskies as they beat the Firebees 5-1 on the Sunday at Cribbs Causeway. In South 2A, it was a Solent Amazons who headed up to Slough. They come away with the victory there. A 6-2 win for the girls from Gosport. And in 1 North on Sunday, a comprehensive win for the Nottingham Vipers. They beat the Kingston Diamonds Division 1 roster by 10-2. The other thing as well, talking about women's hockey, that we did stick out on the socials earlier today, we did talk about it at the time when it came out, because of course there was a lot of discussion around Ice Hockey UK's sex and gender policy when it came to ice hockey, and there was obviously a lot of conversation about it, a lot of things said. Well, today there has been a joint statement released. If you've missed this, so like I said, I did put this out on the BOTW socials. A joint statement that's come out from the Caledonian Steel Queens, the Cambridge Kodiaks, the Haringey Greyhounds, the Lee Valley Vampires, the Streatham Storm, and the Solent Women's Ice Hockey Club. That comprises the Solent Amazons and their development roster, the Solent Valkyries. So if you've not seen the statement, it comes as follows. Joint statements to Ice Hockey UK, England Ice Hockey Board and Scottish Ice Hockey Board. We have reviewed the recently published sex and gender participation policy as a group of clubs and as a group of clubs share a number of concerns over the policy's implications, design, implementation and legal permissibility. We detail these concerns in our joint statements sent by the undersigned clubs this week and urgently request a meeting with Ice Hockey UK and England Ice Hockey as soon as possible. Signed by the clubs we mentioned there before: Cambridge, Streatham, Haringey, Lee Valley, Caledonia and Solent. So remember, these are all women's teams that have said this. Our joint statement raises concerns in a number of areas, namely contravention of the Equality Act 2010 and ice hockey's commitment to inclusivity, inconsistency with IIHF standards, risk assessment requirements being vague and open to discriminatory application, overly broad wording risks unintended consequences and discriminatory application, legal drafting issues create confusion and potential legal risks, and failure to complete a comprehensive consultation process before implementation. We urgently request a meeting with Ice Hockey UK and England Ice Hockey to discuss these concerns. This joint statement has been shared with Ice Hockey UK's board, England Ice Hockey's board and Scottish Ice Hockey's board, which you would need to do with the involvement of Caledonia. We would encourage clubs and individual players and fans who share these concerns to contact Ice Hockey UK and England Ice Hockey at the following addresses, which they've then put a load of emails, which is the Ice Hockey UK's participation address, England Ice Hockey, Faye Andrews as the manager of the WNIHL, and Henry Stalins as chief executive of Ice Hockey UK. Now, I said at the time, I felt that what they had put lacked nous. I felt that it was poorly worded and created a lot of confusion. I share the concerns of many that I don't, like I say, I think this sort of bizarre inherent feeling that trans people wanting to play ice hockey are a danger kind of sits uneasily with me. But ultimately, I am a completely straight heterosexual male, and maybe my word doesn't mean much in this circumstance. And actually, what I'm going to do for a little bit when it comes to this is a bunch of women's teams, because this greatly affects them more than it does me, are speaking up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them talk and keep my mouth shut, and we'll work it on from there. But we'll keep covering the story and we'll keep talking about it, because I do think it is important as to how we do. Ice hockey struggles to be inclusive. It's a really expensive sport. We don't have tons of people from minorities, both ethnic and societal, and actually what we need to handle this better than I think they have done. Like I say, I don't think the policy was very well written, and so hopefully this can bring some discussion to make it a better written document that people feel does more service to the people that it affects. So I think that's pretty cool. Looking forward to seeing the Northern teams this weekend. Nikki, you are going to love Billingham because there's a real old school flavour to how they play. I think you'll really, if you haven't, you obviously, I don't know, you weren't at Coventry last weekend, so you didn't see them, but I think you'll like Billingham. I think you'll love Blackburn. The fact that obviously Graham produces 4,000 and counting, does stuff for Hawks Talk as well. Nikki, you're going to have a whale of a time with that North One game. I really think you will, mate. So you can enjoy that one. There we go. Remember to have water. It's always a really good idea. We're still at that point where I kind of blink, and then I look outside my window, and it was light when I started the show, and it's not anymore, which is always amusing. But yes, questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything anybody else wants to chuck in, as I'm just going to have a quick squiz round and just make sure that there's, again, no news randomly coming out whilst we're talking. It's 2-0 Latvia, which we knew, which is frustrating. Nothing else immediately leaping out that I can see. Apart from the fact that I've just seen Alexander Ovechkin do a belly flop slide on the ice at practice, because of course he did. Nothing else I can see leaping out, which is good. It's nice it's nice when things go calmly and smoothly. Just check a few other places. What we will do as well, because I know that they've gone live on a Wednesday because they can do. What we're going to do is we might end it there, and what I would encourage you to do is to pop across to Door 14 Hockey And as they're still recording live at the moment, and just go and put gimmick infringement in their chat. We'll do that. But yeah, last call. We'll do last call then for bits and pieces. Jamie Thompson interview on Sharks TV was an interesting listen. Yes, talk of the fourth import for the national division. Like I say, that seems to be the plan, we will officially get word, I'm sure, before too long. And so we will see how that goes from there. But yeah, busy weekend. I am back in Guildford. I will be on the call on Flames TV on Saturday evening for the Guildford Flames and the Nottingham Panthers in the Elite League playoffs. A first for me. Getting the playoff game for Guildford was a surprise. I was down to help do commentary for the Steel City Showdown, and family bits and pieces meant I couldn't be there. When Guildford then came to me after the fact, just because some other circumstances happened, and they asked if I was able to do if I could help them out, and thanks to my wife for kind of helping me out to be able to be in the right place at the right time to be able to then do that. And then so I get to do that, which is really, really cool, and I'm really looking forward to it. Guildford and Nottingham, this will be my third time calling Guildford and Nottingham this season. They're very well matched stylistically. It's going to be a really, really good game. I'm really looking forward to doing it. It would be cool to be up in Sheffield, just isn't to be. I will be in commentary, of course, so that'll be really fun. But looking forward to it. Ready to start prepping as well, so it should be a lot of fun. But yeah, actually, 3 imports is enough. If I wanted to watch imports, I'd be a Blaze fan. But then you wouldn't get to see Brittany Capps as much. Hang on a second. But yeah, I think the player ball issue is the thing for the is the thing with the national division. It's the amount of guys willing to play national division hockey because of the things that come with it. So there we go. We will call it there and leave it for this week. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for all things related to the NIHL. Follow me on my journey through British hockey and with our Banners on the Road series. Hockey Stories, of course, for your long-form, in-depth pieces of content, interviews, video reviews, video interviews, and all those kind of bits and pieces. From the 19th century to the present day, behind the Iron Curtain, into war, and beyond. Plenty of stuff coming in the off-season from Hockey Stories. Stay tuned for that one. NHLers need to stop leaving their business emails in publicly available places, because I'll email you asking you for an interview. But either way, the old BOTW podcast back catalogue is there. Go back and listen to the original podcast with Nicky Watt. From back in the day, if you feel brave enough to do so. And our free-to-download tabletop ice hockey game, Dice Hockey. 14 years worth of stuff over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Facebook, we're on Facebook, we're on X, we're on Blue Sky. All of those bits and pieces, including the link to our virtual busking hat at buymeacoffee.com/BOTW, are all down there in the description of the YouTube video. So go check us out on all the socials, follow us in all of those places. That'd be massively appreciated. And of course, we are here on YouTube. It's not just doing these bits and pieces live. Plenty of videos, game reviews, interviews, chatting with the movers and shakers of British and world hockey, folk who've been doing sort of great stuff, referees, club owners, all sorts. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like videos, share bits and pieces out, keep that algorithm hamster happy, fat and fed. It's always massively appreciated. And of course, the only show that covers every match of all the leagues across the NIHL, from Leeds to Lee Valley. We leave nobody out. Wednesday nights all the way through the season. And yes, there are only 2 left of the season. Here's how it's going to go. Next Wednesday night, we will be reviewing the Steel City Showdown, and we will look ahead to the Coventry weekend. We will 100% be back the week after Coventry to review everything that came before and have a look back at the season just gone, and then we will work out what we're going to do from there. It really nearly is the end, but the moment has been prepared for, if I can steal a line from Doctor Who. There are 8 teams heading to Sheffield this weekend. There are the 8 teams left in the National, with pride for some to play for and something bigger for a few others. We are in hockey paradise at this point. Enjoy it while you can. Be happy. And if you can't be happy with them wherever you are, please do whatever you can to please be safe. As my friend Scott Oz would say, take care of yourself and somebody else. For bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe. And so long until next time. Have a great time at Sheffield if you go. I'll be watching from afar with one eye for sure. I've got work to do myself. If you're in Guildford, come say hello to me, because we are edging closer and closer towards the end. Let's enjoy it while we can. We will see you back here next Wednesday night for the What's Current stream. Until then,